Anyhow, the thing is that I think it would be incredibly troublesome to me. I I what I'm imagining is that a lot of this stuff, that there's a part of me that's saying, all this stuff that you're doing, it's going to fall down on you and it's going to crush you and it's going to destroy you. And then there's a part of me that's saying, and so I'm just like, I'm like, if I have the capacity to have a choice, even if everything falls to pot and I start really hating my existence, I imagine what my brain's going to do is it's going to generate another reality, and all that's around me, if I'm still alive, if this is all still real, my entire reality is it's going to be like something out of that movie Brazil, another Terry Gilliam movie, where the guy lives in this dystopian future where everything's just steam pipes and like nobody ever sees the sun, and he has a kind of a paradise. He lives in a paradise in his imagination, but the stuff around him is surreal and depressing. And so I think it would be in the best interest for some people to end up being homeless, and like the homeless people get a little crazy and develop their own friends, end up talking to people that are not there, a little bit schizophrenic. Other people would see it as a tragedy. For it's a necessity. That's the reason why we have brains that do the things they do, is to permit us to cope with really bad situations. um, if somebody's being consistently abused, um, your supposedly your brain will construct personas to protect you, because nobody's there to protect you, to separate you from the from the pain that's coming in. At least that's the idea. And so there's protection mechanisms, for dealing with pain. I don't know if that's what happens with somebody who's got a problem with cancer or something like that. They're in pain all the time. They have to take drugs, but I wonder if you didn't have the drugs and you were in constant pain, if it's even possible, or if a psychologist could say that this actually could happen. People talk about multiple personalities, and I don't know if there is ever such a thing, or if it's completely a fabrication. But if it is but as I said, I think the Chinese government has figured out how to, through the through using people as guinea pigs, has figured out how to induce schizophrenia in people, because there is a group of people that have a problem now where they claim that the government has figured out a way to put chips inside their head and basically read their thoughts and control them, which sounds like schizophrenia. And so that's probably what's going on with them. I don't think that what they're saying is true. I think what they're saying is that they're experiencing schizophrenia, and that's the only thing they can come up with. It's possible that they were put in an environment. Um, they were put in an environment that, and probably even conditioned by the government to understanding psychological disorders, that they could actually construct um, this idea and make them believe it, and then they would turn around and say, well, the government's putting chips inside our head and and eavesdropping on our thoughts and stuff like that. If they're really doing that sort of thing, why would they be like using Uyghurs and stuff like that? And um, they would actually have the capacity to start putting brains in jars and constructing large neural nets from organisms and stuff. It's something of a science fiction. It would be a really kind of an interesting science fiction. The other thing that could be happening there, and I got it from some YouTube thing where they were interviewing these Chinese people. They may be just constructing a big old lie. That could be the Chinese government constructing bunch of um, a bunch of propaganda to try to make everybody else in the world feel like they have technology they're not telling us about or something. It could be true and it could be completely a lie, um, as a scare tactic. And but something we do know of the CCP is that if you ever become a billionaire and a Chinese billionaire in China, they'll kill you. And it's kind of like they've put capitalism inside of a controlled environment, and they're trying to maintain the the communist dictatorship with the capitalism in a jar, and they're using that capitalism. They're using it to manipulate us, to attract us in and exploit us because we're capitalistic. They're basically constructing a virus, a kind of virus where it's a communistic dictatorship, constructing a very attractive environment to capitalists, bringing them in and eventually are going to eat all capitalism in the world, kind of envelop it in communism. And the solution to this problem is to cut ourselves. Is what Hong Kong people in Hong Kong are telling us to do is to uh, cut off all ties to China, because it's the only way for this to get fixed, is for China to be completely disconnected from everybody in the world, because their intent is to envelop everything in the world and create a universal communism. The bad communism. The good communism isn't even possible here because of our selfishness. You have to be completely selfless. Everybody has to be completely selfless, and everybody has to have no value for riches or for wealth and stuff. Um, there, there has to be completely. There's all sorts of things you have to satisfy, and then they have to be happy on top of that, and they have to like not really want to be a celebrity, or I mean, it could go that way because you get the internet. It's peer-to-peer network. Everybody can provide information for everybody else, to basically destroy Hollywood, destroy all broadcast media, because the corporations use the broadcast media, the cable and whatnot, the TVs, to control our minds. I mean, to control our perception of reality. This is also happening with the social media stuff through direct marketing. Um, the thing is we just need to be super aware of how this works, and know that, and figure out ways to sabotage it. And one way to do it is just to not edit video, because with the capacity to edit video comes the manipulation of context. And it's probably the reason why I took the courses about how to be a Michael Moore, because that's what Michael Moore does. He manipulates audio and video context to get you thinking the wrong things, because um, it's kind of the same idea that the conservatives are really worried about, is that if you open your mind, if you're open minded, your brain will fall over your head. The idea is if you assimilate information from lots of places and you can't categorize and put it in a drawer, and all of the ideas of some of the toxic ideas of some sets of philosophies will start mixing with the philosophies that are good, and will produce viral toxic philosophies that then are very destructive. Um, it's that everything you learn gets mixed together, and then you can't make heads or tails of what came from where. That's the reason why I don't go and look in Wikipedia and I just say this, and I give some sort of reference, not a specific reference, but just kind of a sketchy reference, is so that you'll go out and do the research and find the stuff, and to go through the fun, novel experience of trying to find what's real and what's not real, and to solve the mystery, which is a form of way of getting away from the world. You go out and you do the research, you try to put together the puzzle pieces. It's going to develop your capacity to use your mind, to become a little bit like me in that respect. But it's also possible that as a result of listening to me, you'll probably start getting the Job thing as well from the universe, that this will be a necessary step for you to jump through the hoops of what I believe this whole thing to be. And this is me. I don't want you to think about this right now, but this is me, and that this is really kind of like if we were AI, and the researchers who are dealing with AI need to think about this. If you ever develop the singularity to keep it in a sandbox where it has no access to the outside, that we limit its access. You have to sandbox computer stuff, and cloud computing is about this stuff too. Your hypervisors, you throw your operating system in there. It's like the first time it's ever been installed, but you've run it several times before. It just thinks that it hasn't been run before. And you put in your petri dish of your AI in there, and you see what happens. It's like that movie where the guy is sitting there and he's created this robot woman, and he's having a love affair, but at the same time he's being very careful with her to not let her out of the house. And then this guy that he brings in thinks that somehow he's ruining her, and that it would be better for her to get outside of that. And then he finds all these videos of all these previous attempts at him trying to get a stable AI, get her. But in his interpretation of it is that he's torturing her, and then the stupid idiot lets her get what she wants and ends up killing both of them and goes off into the world. And the thing there, it's really a cautionary tale that guy was working on something that was becoming basically the fearful thing now of the researchers, is developing a complete neural copy of ourselves from the neurons, because the neurons are basically us cloning sheep. We're cloning our neurons, and we're using it to create technologies. And there are people, they're going, oh, we're going to do so many fantastic stuff, but there's a great potential there to completely shoot ourselves in the foot. And the researchers don't know whether or not to believe in God or to believe in this singularity. And I mean, if they believed in God, they would probably be able to deal with managing and controlling this potential threat. But this is the new atomic bomb, the new fear. It isn't the dropping of an atomic bomb, it's the fear. The fear is of a singularity. And I tell you, the solution to this problem of something of an EMP to destroy the computers, all the computer technology around the world, or a massive nuclear attack that just completely destroys everything on the earth. And is the reason why, if you ever seen the movie The Matrix, everything is so dark and black, is because that's what they tried to do to deal with the Matrix, with the aliens, or with this technology, or I mean, the T-2000 and all that stuff, was that the singularity got out, and in order for people of the world to save their planet, they had to drop nukes or have some massive war, that's what would happen. We would hope that God would come in, intercede, okay, that's enough, and then bring Jesus back and the whole thing gets fixed. But there are Christians off on the side probably they're thinking that's the solution. I don't think it's a solution. I think the thing here is that it'll get fixed, but it'll get fixed in a way that we need to get fixed, and that is to lighten up, to 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 relax, to take care of each other. That's the solution. It's not to paint a picture of the future as being a dystopian or apocalyptic thing, but see that it may just be another step in existing here. And those people like Elon Musk that are talking about brain links and all the things he read in science fiction novels, and you're doing the Hitler. You're doing what Hitler was doing. He was trying to create value by constructing a mythology, and he was using all the popular ideas of that time. And you think that it's going to be really great, Elon, but you could end up destroying a lot as a result of that. Because though Hitler was delusional, or had some great political tactic to control the German people, we shouldn't try to get into the area of trying to connect our brains and stuff. I think what you should do is do the research and testing. Do it. Don't talk about it to people. Just do it. Experiment with it, and then I think you'll come to the realization that you can't really do it. And then just not to talk about it in the news, because what you're really doing is you're giving everybody the capacity to shoot themselves in the foot, lose trust in everything and everybody, and everybody will become like hermits, and they'll be out there, living in boxes and like not trusting anyone. Whenever the solution to the problem is all of us coming together and tossing the AI, and if there is ever a singularity, we better put to it some kind of empathy that it can't have any access to, because it'll go and turn off the switch, and now we're dealing with an entity that has more intelligence than us and may not identify with us, and it becomes like T2.